morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. How do you organize your plans for success? Good morning. My name is Ann McNeil, and I am, yes, I am the master wealth builder, helping you to build a stronger and a better life and business with the Think and Grow Rich philosophy espoused by Napoleon Hill, and of course, the McNeil Factor Success System. Today, we are talking about organized planning as a principle to help you organize your plans for greater success in your business, but also in your life. And Napoleon Hill shares with us the fact that this organized planning principle really is best vetted when you start with a mastermind group of accountability. And he actually tells us to actually go back to chapter 2 and deal with the 6 steps to riches as you begin to vet your plans, because everything starts with your desire. And when you take your desire with faith, autosuggestion, your imagination, your persistence, now it's time to begin to organize your plans. But as you do that, start with an accountability group called Mastermind, which you're talking about. I suggest, this is my Ann McNeil suggestion, right? One individual, and I'll use Peter and Galen, which I'm going to introduce because I'm not alone. I'll use them as an example. Peter and Galen decided to start a mastermind group. They're like-minded and like-spirited to vet their plans to achieve their desire. The two of them were in total agreement on the third person that they added to their group. Now, when you start a mastermind group, you must have reciprocating accountability to support each other as you ally yourself with like-minded and like-spirited individuals. And when you do that, and you start with your desire and meet regularly, which is what he suggests, we're still talking about organized planning. You want your group to be in perfect harmony. Again, we'll go back to Peter and Galen. When they got the third person, they said, you know what? That's it. 3 is enough for us. What about you? How many individuals do you want as a part of your organized planning group called a mastermind group to vet your plan? And you are willing to also support them in the vetting of their plans. And we're going to talk about this organized planning principle today. But as we talk about this principle, we have a very special guest, Nick LOZANO, which we're going to introduce shortly. But before I do that, help me welcome none other than our co-host, Peter James. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing so well this morning there, Ann. How are you doing today?
Listen, if I were any better, I'd be you, Dr. Peter James. I'm just glad to be back on this side of the camera. And so thank you so very much. Let me also welcome to the front of this camera our co-host, Galen Bingham. Good morning, Galen. How are you this morning?
Outstanding, outstanding. Great to have the entire crew back together again. I think I've hung out with each of you independently, but we've got the whole team back together, so that's kind of great.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we're talking about this organized planning principle, and we know that each of you have started a mastermind group. And I was sharing before we started that we have a very special guest, and we're going to bring him on. But before we do that, I really want to just make sure as we start into this conversation and into this principle, because it's so deep and it's so long, and there's so much, we actually could spend the entire year on the organized planning principle. Would you agree, Peter? Oh, Galen was going to say something. Would you agree, Galen?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I mean, it's one thing to have a goal, it's one thing to have a desire, it's one thing to have a wish or something that you want to do, but unless you have a plan, then everything else is just a conversation. So, organized plan, and I love the way that you introduced this, and because that is really the power of having a mastermind group, a group of people who can vet your plans and say, hey, I see where you're trying to go. Have you thought about these three things over here? Or I hear what you say you're doing. Where's your plan for making it a reality? And to your point, Dr. Peter and I connected and sensed that we were like-minded. And so we started hanging out with each other doing that. We both agreed about adding the third person. And then over the past couple of months, the three of us decided that we wanted to, breathe new energy into our group. And we each agreed, all of us agreed to add a fourth person. So it's not something that we didn't broadcast or put out an ad, hey, join our personal mastermind group. We were really thoughtful about who we wanted to bring in, what we thought that person would add, and whether or not they fit the energy and the direction that the three of us were already going. So incredible. This principle is really, really important because this is where you shift from a goal, a dream, to an actual plan.
All right, Dr. Peter, your thoughts, and then we're going to introduce our guests because I really want to set this up in the minds of the listeners. The author starts the book off on the first page suggesting a mastermind group. Your thoughts, Dr. Peter?
Yeah, and I love this chapter for this reason as well, Anne. Napoleon Hill gives us a lot of steps, action items to follow in this chapter in organized planning. It's ingenious if you think about it, because how else can you go into an organized planning mode or chapter or read without step by steps? If I walk away from this chapter and don't know what to do, that's a problem. But Napoleon Hill does a great job of giving us very different, as an example, how to get the exact position that you desire. He's giving us steps, leadership steps in order to organize planning, to plan our future better, plan your business, plan your career. So another reason why you have to pick up this book, why you have to digest it, and I'm excited to hear about our distinguished guest and then what that looks like for him as well, Anne.
Absolutely. And while we're preparing to bring Nick on, I want you to also think about, for those of you that are currently in a mastermind group, who's holding your group accountable? And I wrote this book. Yes, I'm working on me. I wrote this book called How to Start and Run a Successful Mastermind Group. And I was sharing with Galen and Peter this morning, a large part of this podcast came out of the fact that groups who mastermind, and Nick is going to talk about his mastermind group at the Institute, but groups who mastermind, I suggest, should also have accountability to another organization, which is why we created the International Mastermind Association for the accountability of your groups. Now, there are fee masterminds. I'm not talking about those. My focus for the balance of this year, every time you hear from me, all of you, you're going to hear me talk about and promote free masterminds for family and friends. Galen and Peter became friends, and they invited other friends into their mastermind group for their business and their life, but it's a free mastermind. And they are part of the International Mastermind Association. So, with that thought being said, you can get more information by getting the book, How to Start and Run a Successful Mastermind Group. But right now, I want you to help me welcome to the front of this stage none other than our special Nick. You get a special introduction, because as we were sharing with him before the podcast started, he talked about being in this book 4 hours a day. I said, okay, well, let's hold that. Welcome to the Think and Grow Rich Mastermind Live podcast, Nick Lozano, from a very early age. Good morning, Nick.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
All right. Nick knew he thought differently, and you're going to hear that today, especially when it came to money. While the world seemed content with limitations and low expectations, he felt deep down that he was meant for more. Now, from the beginning of a household moving service, and we're going to talk about that, Nick, to years of studying personal achievement, and I'll put a pin in that and say to you, welcome to this podcast. Can you share with us, go back to, I like to always go back to two things. One is your early beginnings for your life, but also, and we'll get to this later, your first introduction to the book, so that our audience, and we want to thank all of you that's listening in on YouTube. Yes, thank you, thank you, thank you. You know who you are always. We have Meta, Carla, Doretha, Laura, Shannon, Victoria, Erica. Thank you, everybody. Like Les Brown says, Lottie Dottie and everybody. But Nick, thank you. Can you share with us, to go back to the very beginning, when you realized that there is something uh, different, if you will? Can you take us back at any point when you realize that there's something different and it began to pull you into where you are today? You can start anywhere in that journey. Thank you.
Yes, and thank you so much. So whenever I'm hearing these words, I'm taken back to high school. I remember always being or always feeling like as if I were different than others. I even with my friends, I would sit away from my friends. Say for instance at lunch, I was always thinking, just thinking differently. I remember um, as getting into the workforce, being in high school. I remember all my friends preparing themselves for college and preparing themselves for to go into the career field. But I was always fascinated by the freedom of entrepreneurship. I was always thinking of different ways to create more money or to earn more money. Um, so from an early age, I knew that I was different. I knew that I myself I enjoy swimming against the crowd, going against the crowd. I don't know if you can familiar or if you're familiar with that, Ann and Peter, but that's always been a thing about me, always going against the crowd. Um, you had mentioned or you had asked about the book Think and Grow Rich and my first experience with it. It's actually a funny story, Anne. So I purchased my first copy of Think and Grow Rich in 2016. It it literally sat on the table for for a couple of months. And I remember and picking the book up and not being able to understand a word Napoleon Hill was talking about or writing. And so I remember in chapter two where I thought the book wasn't for me because I wasn't understanding what I was reading. So a couple months later, I decided to pick the book up and just really I made the decision. It's funny, and that many of us entrepreneurs or many of a lot of successful people or people individuals who have met success in their life, they practice the principles of Napoleon Hill's philosophy without even realizing it, without even knowing. So this day I made a decision that I was going to pick the book up, Think and Grow Rich, and I was going to see what all the hype was about. I was going to see exactly what Napoleon Hill was introduced to the world, and man, and I just really fell in love with the with I became fascinated with this philosophy, with this new knowledge. Um, and I still, a lot of times, and I'm sure many of you have heard this, because I do carry the book Think and Grow Rich with me everywhere. I'll be at a football game and I'm carrying the book Think and Grow Rich. So a lot of people look at that and automatically they have a negative thought towards money, or like they ask me, individuals ask me, Think and Grow Rich, are you trying to are you only worried about getting rich? And it amazes me because Napoleon Hill, whenever he speaks about the riches of life, financial gain is on the bottom of the list.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now I want to turn to I see Galen is smiling broadly. Galen, you have a question or comment?
No, I mean, I just really I can identify, Nick, with what you're saying about how people often think, and I think it's based on the marketing, the way the book is titled, and the marketing that your mind automatically goes to money. But this book really taught me the broadness of what the word rich means. And back to and something we were saying before we started the show, if you don't have health, if you don't have your body, all these other definitions of richness, they're just really kind of interesting, right? But health is an area of richness. Your mental well-being is an area of richness, and I can't wait to get further into this conversation because I really want to understand how do you broaden your practical approach, your practical understanding of richness beyond just money. It includes money, but how do you broaden your definition of richness because of your study of the book?
So I appreciate that, Galen. So in one of the lessons with Napoleon Hill, he says, "Verily I say to you, with all the enthusiasm at my command," that's rich. Whenever an individual is able to control the enthusiasm that he or she possesses, to me, I believe that's a rich life. So being able to have the freedom to make a decision that, like, let's speak about adversity, right? So when hard times come, we have the ability to to take a time out, step back, assess what's going on, and be able to maintain a positive mental attitude no matter what's going on. Napoleon Hill, he a lot of us only see the finished product, right? Many of us don't always consider what Napoleon Hill really went through. There's a book called it's written Don Green with Napoleon Hill Foundation. It's three feet from gold. There's a letter in there on one of the pages. There's a letter that Napoleon Hill wrote to his wife, and just asking just for someone to encourage him. Just a word of encouragement would do him so well because no one really realizes all the doubt people had, everyone, like many individuals against him. I'm pretty sure that that he faced much adversity. So yes, to answer your question, like, to be able to have the control over your mind and to maintain a positive mental attitude, that's rich to me.
Gotcha. Dr. Peter, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm so excited, and thank you so much, Nick, for sharing your journey. Thank you so much for even sharing insights. You know, uh, you never know what someone is going through. You never know what someone is experiencing, how they're traversing life. And to Nick, to hear that you have grounded yourself in Think and Grow Rich is phenomenal, and how you got one about to get there for sure. And as we continue to move forward, I'm excited to hear not only about the past, but and now, but your future and how you continue to expand upon it, especially around the organized planning, for sure. So yeah, but I know we're gonna dive on into some details, and I know we have a video coming up very, very soon there, Ann.
All right, since you said that, Dr. Peter James, why don't you tee up the video if you don't mind and share? And for those of you that's listening, please remember to subscribe to the YouTube channel. And like Galen likes to always say, make sure you click that notification bell and subscribe to Ann McNeil YouTube. If you're listening, please share this podcast with your family, and friends, because we really want you to hear Nick's journey, his story, and how he's utilizing the organized planning principle of the book Think and Grow Rich, but also as we all connect our desire, whatever it is, and the book often talks about if it's a monetary desire, do you have plans that can be vetted before you assume failure? Reset the plans and reset the plans and reset the plans, because nothing is really failure unless you choose to quit. So every experience you have, consider it, like they say, as food for champions on your journey. So Dr. Peter James, when you're ready.
Yeah, this video is really for those individuals who have never done a deep dive into Think and Grow Rich. Maybe you've scratched the surface. Maybe you are aware of the chapters, the principles. But as you listen to this video, allow it to really impact you in a way that it never has before. Allow it to help you go deeper into the text and then maybe implement it for your present and your future. So I won't give you more of a hint of what's getting ready to happen, but without further ado, here's the video.
Number 1 is desire. Napoleon Hill said that everything starts with a burning desire, a compelling reason for doing what it is we do. Step 2 is faith, having belief in our ability to attain that which we desire. Step 3 is what we call autosuggestion. Autosuggestion simply means being very intentional about the things that we are pouring into our thoughts, into our brains, and into our consciousness. Our brains, our minds will receive everything automatically, but we have to work extra hard to make sure that the positive things are what we are feeding ourselves, because those positive thoughts are going to turn into positive actions. Step number 4 is specialized knowledge. No one person knows everything, even about whatever their particular area of expertise might be. And the value of the mastermind principle is using the specialized knowledge of other people. Step number 5 is imagination, the workshop of the mind. Everything starts with our imagination and our thoughts, the burning desire to transform those thoughts into our reality. In order to do that, we have to take a look at step 6, which is organized planning. That is how we crystallize our desire into action, organizing ourselves. Having the thought and not acting on the thought isn't going to get us anywhere. We have the thought, we go through the organized planning to transform that thought into action. Step number 7 is decision. What Napoleon Hill said is the mastery of procrastination. Napoleon Hill said that the antidote to procrastination is simply to make a decision and then move on that decision. Step 8 is persistence. We have to have a sustained effort which is induced by our faith in order to achieve our goals. One of Napoleon Hill's books I love, even the title, 3 Feet from Gold. Those people who became rich during the gold rush in the Wild Wild West days didn't do that because they were necessarily smarter or had better information than anyone else. It's because they stayed just a little bit longer. Sometimes people left when they were just literally 3 feet from gold. So hanging in there, being persistent, is step number 8. Step number 9, the power of the mastermind, the driving force. None of us can accomplish anything on our own. Everybody, I don't care who you are, from the most prominent person to the person who might be considered the lowest on the totem pole, everybody has someone who helped them get to where they are. And the power of the mastermind is being able to use those influences around us, use the thoughts, use the knowledge, use the exploration of other people to help us in achieving our goal. Step number 10, the mystery of sex transmutation. This title can be a little confusing, But essentially, what the mystery of sex transmutation means is that we oftentimes in our society think of sex as being purely physical. It is absolutely physical, but what Napoleon Hill teaches us is that sex also has an emotional element, and that sex is the strongest of our desires. That if we can take our sexual energy, transform that into positive, creative influences, it can propel us to new heights. And so we spend quite a bit of time talking about the mystery of step 10, which is sex transmutation. Step number 11 is the subconscious mind, which Napoleon Hill tells us is the connecting leap between our human mind and the infinite intelligence, the source of all thought, the source of all creativity. Conscious mind, we spent some time talking about how we use that through the influence of autosuggestion and what we're feeding into our mind. Step number 12, which is the brain, the broadcasting and receiving station of thought. Final step number 13, the sixth sense, the door to the temple of wisdom. This is the final step through which infinite intelligence may and will communicate voluntarily without any effort from or demands by the individual. The principle is the apex of the philosophy. It can be assimilated, understood, and applied only by first mastering the other 12 principles.
So hopefully you took away and love exactly what that video is able to show, and hopefully it actually tease up a little bit you doing a deeper dive into Think and Grow Rich. If you've never had the opportunity to pick up this book and implement it for your own life, for your own career, for your own business, for your own personal life, today is your day. But without further ado, let's listen a little bit more to Nick's journey around this Think and Grow Rich book. So back to you, Ann.
All right, thank you. I also want to thank those of you who are listening live with us on the Zoom platform. So thank you, Renee, and thank you, Renee and Marianne Kirk. Thank you so very much for listening. Nick, let's go back to your desire. Could you share with us an example? It may be money, it may not be money. I want to start with the very beginning, desire. An example of a desire that you have or have had where you were able to use your mastermind group to vet your plans or the lack thereof.
I like that. So it goes back to I'll go back to the moving company that we had for so many years. You know, and there was I remember speaking with my wife, and there was always a feeling of something missing that I just didn't know. I couldn't put my hand on it, and so when I finally found it, it was through a business coach. And we went to his first live conference, and at this conference, I was able to connect with other moving company owners. So that wasn't in the market as we were, and even if they would have been in the market, it's okay because there's plenty for everyone. There's an abundance for everyone. So being able to grow the company by learning not only from the business coach, but from the mastermind that we had created. There were individuals from San Diego, from the West Coast, all the way to Gainesville in Florida, up to New York, where we would meet often and just discuss the trends and the marketing and just business. But I tell you, Ann, having the mastermind, having the group of individuals who work in perfect harmony, I believe that is what I can't even think of the term to use that threw me so far of the competition in our market, that it was through the mastermind. But if I may, and Dr. Peter, the chapter 7 in Think and Grow Rich, organized planning, Napoleon Hill begins speaking about the desire. As a matter of fact, he says organized planning is the crystallization of desire into action. And in chapter 2 of Think and Grow Rich, there's the 6 steps that Napoleon Hill instructs us to follow. And I'm so fascinated with the first step because it says, create a fixation in your mind of that what you desire, or the exact amount of money you desire. But he says, he uses the term create a fixation in your mind. Now, and I've read before that, and I love talking to my kids about this, and I'm talking to my kids about this the other day. There's one type of patient that doctors have trouble healing through with medicine. There's nothing that a doctor can prescribe a patient who has created a fixation of illness in their own mind. When a doctor steps into the room with the patient, and the patient has created this fixation of illness in their mind, there's little that the doctor can do. So I told my son, so when we create a fixation in our mind of that what we want, there's no one that can stop that, because we've created a fixation of that what we desire in our mind. So we go after that. It becomes a burning desire, right? Napoleon Hill discusses a burning desire. But I just wanted to share that with us on the show, and anyone that's listening to this podcast. When we create when we create a fixation of that what we want in our mind, we take personal initiative. We practice the habit of going the extra mile. We possess and practice positive mental attitude. All these things that Napoleon Hill taught becomes moving in our lives, moving in our day-to-day. It gives us courage. It gives us faith. Our faith becomes stronger. And I don't want to take the whole mic, so I definitely would love to hear any comments or feedback.
Well, I'm not sure who wants to go first, but I will yield because you are preaching my language. Galen, whoever wants to go first, I'll yield. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'll jump in because one of the things that really jumped to my mind when I was listening to you, Nick, is how if you truly desire something, you're going to create an organized plan. As a matter of fact, if you don't create an organized plan, then you're really just wishing. You don't really desire it, right? If you don't have faith in something, then you don't really have a desire, right? That's just something that would be interesting to have, right? And so it's interesting how things kind of stack on top of your desire. Is it a burning red hot desire, or is it just something that you would like to have someday? And if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, then it's not going to change your life. I'm curious, Nick, when did this book become more than just a book for you? You talk about today, you carry the book everywhere. You know, you're at a football game, and I know about the culture in Oklahoma. Football is almost everything. But for you to have a Think and Grow Rich book with you at a football game, that suggests that it's more than just a book. When did it become more than just a book for you?
Great question. I didn't even realize that it became that it has become more of a book. I guess it's been, I would say, since 2019. So for 6 years, I've been carrying this book pretty much everywhere I go. My sister says my vehicle is a mobile library.
So what was the turning point that caused you to think, wow, there's something to this? I've got to study this. I can't just read this once or twice. I really need to put some. I heard you say at the beginning, 4 hours a day studying this. What was the turning point that caused you to realize that there was something more to this?
I think I can agree with Bob Proctor, the late Bob Proctor. Bob Proctor has mentioned where he became successful through these cleaning services, but he had to take a step back and wanting to learn what happened, what really happened. And so I believe that was my I had a hunger to really have a knowledge of and understanding of what really happened in my life and how I was able to succeed at a level that I was able to succeed at. And then I just became hungry for more knowledge, and it just yeah, that's where the 4 hours studying come, because I was so fascinated. And not only the book of Think and Grow Rich, but most of the books, any book that I can find of Napoleon Hill with and Andrew Carnegie, I have. So just studying and a lot of journaling. Galen, you had mentioned a thing, something that triggered a thought. Napoleon Hill says, you must pay the price. If you desire anything in life, whether it's whatever scale of success or whatever scale of financial gain one desires, one must pay the price. And I would consider myself definitely a teacher. Like, I love explaining this philosophy. I love explaining things that I have that I've learned through reading and experience. But one must pay the price, and I feel that that I'm paying the price. I feel that I'm paying the price.
Oh,
Fantastic.
oh, sorry, Galen. But with that thought in mind, and you really just teed up this question in the chat from Dr. Victoria Long Coleman. She said, "Hi, Nick. Thank you for being here today. Can you share a time when a detailed plan failed, but the failure led to unexpected growth or opportunity?"
Yes. So there's always, in my experience, with the moving company, we were planning to grow a certain amount in 12 months. All the team was on board. We were working quarterly objectives. We had a bulletproof plan. However, when the plan did not, when the plan seemed not to work, it kind of goes down, right? The morale of the team. You can feel the shift when things are not going according to plan. However, I believe, Anne, and to answer the question, is that had our plan not failed, I probably wouldn't be here right now, because it turned into a different direction outside of the movement industry and into the coaching, the coaching space, the business consultant space. So I believe that all things are good. I can make a decision to accept all things that are good. So when all things are good, and I'm not being led by certain circumstances, which is not an easy thing to do, or being led by emotions, I believe when you condition your mind to accept things good, then then you just pursue and just keep on moving forward. And I do apologize if I've lost if I've lost you with that answer. But whenever you have a plan, A lot of the times we are met with temporary defeat. And the temporary defeat sometimes is very strong, very heavy. And just like how you mentioned, Anne, that temporary defeat does not make you quit. It doesn't make you quit. It doesn't make it's not a total failure. Quitting is whenever you stop trying. So I want to encourage someone out there that may be going through, whether it's in business, whether it's professional life, or whether it's in personal life, that whatever plan you are working, go back and revisit it. Napoleon Hill says for us to eat with our desire, for us to take it with us, for us to always be thinking about the desire that we have. So go back to your plan, revisit it. If it needs to make adjustments quickly, and just keep moving forward.
Yeah, thank
Hey,
you.
I'd love to jump in here because you're really tapping into something that's at the core of what I do, and that is around mindset and helping people stay focused on the goals that they want to accomplish. I love the way the author says that the universe will conspire to deliver what you think about most of the time. Not necessarily what you want, but what you think about most of the time. And it reminds me of the four times that I've gone skiing, and each time I've taken lessons, and the instructor, different parts of the country, but they all said basically the same thing. Galen, the skis will go where your eyes go. And so if you want to ski down the hill, look down the hill. But if you're constantly looking at these trees, the skis will go where your eyes go. So how do you keep your eyes focused on what you want to accomplish rather than looking at all the things that could happen that could go wrong, all the trees that litter the path, especially as an entrepreneur, we're constantly thinking about what could go wrong. But how do you keep your eyes focused on what you want to accomplish rather than all these things that could go wrong?
Yeah, that's a really great question. Um, Cleona O'Hara, the CEO of Napoleon Hill Institute, she 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 says she says something so that I love. She has her blinders on. When we go to the horse races, the horses, they have their blinders on. They only see the goal. And she explains that she's so focused on her goal. So I believe, we touched a little bit about the mastermind, right? I believe that is so important because the Mastermind Alliance is there for support, not only financial support, but Napoleon Hill says from education support, their experience, their knowledge. So when we go through life by ourselves, we're open for anything to hit us. But when we have that protection of a mastermind group, or the protection of having a spouse, right? I believe that allows us to stay focused. Now, and again, Galen, this is not easy. I'm not saying this and for someone to take it as this is something easy. I believe that through the time of study, Napoleon Hill would say that it was paying the price. I believe I've conditioned my mind to really focus on what it is that I need to focus on. So when the trees are in the way, I think that's a good time to go back to the plan, just to make sure that I'm following the plan. I think it's a good time to go back to I'll use the map, right? The plan is the map. Sometimes we have to make an X and veer right. But always continually going back to our plan, making adjustments. I believe that I think we're too hard on ourselves a lot of the time. So relax, love yourself, and just go back to the plan.
Hey,
Dr.
Nick,
Peter, what are your thoughts there?
yeah, I'm gonna jump in on this one, Nick, and thank you so much. You're allowing me to think and reflect quite a bit, so I truly appreciate it. That being said, I've been reflecting on one word that you used earlier, and the word was fixation.
Mhm.
So maybe I'm fixated on this fixation word that you used, and the reason I'm focused on that word is it's making me think that, people will think, if you're too fixated on money, if you're too fixated on, relationships or your kids, you're imbalanced. It's not right. It's not something you shouldn't do because now you're obsessed. Talk to us a little bit about this fixation that Napoleon refers to. Maybe he doesn't use that word, but he definitely adheres to that, and why it's a positive thing and not a negative thing from your perspective. What initially comes to mind?
So I think there's a lot of people, there's a lot of negativity out here in the world. And although we all want to do good, I think, and I don't want to be negative, right? Because me, I think there's man, I'm I'm a competition person, but I want us all to win. But I honestly think that um, that many of us face adversity, and it could be from our family members, it could be in our own home, where you really don't think that this is really going to work, do you? Or why is it, Nick, that you read 4 hours a day when you could be doing something different? So I think there's a lot of negativity right there. And as my wife listens, I'm not saying about my,
Not
but
trying to get you in trouble, Nick. Not trying to get you in trouble.
but isn't it a true fact, right? Like that's where the doubt comes in sometimes, and not necessarily from our spouse, but from our siblings, and
Mhm.
because people don't. I think it goes back to the vision, right? What vision do I have for myself? What do I honestly desire? I I don't des- I don't desire so much money, riches. That
Mhm.
that's that that's not my desire is to help people get to become new, become their better self. So I would say that for me and I do apologize, Peter. Is there any way that you can go back to that question, because I
No,
know there's something there.
no. It's definitely about fixation, and sometimes others may look at it as being obsessed. And I think, but you actually answered it a little bit. I think when your objective is noble and it's going to be helping the world to get better, and you want to be a part of that, and you are obsessed in it, and money may come along with that, right? I want to amass wealth so I can give back, so I can do more for others, and that's okay. But I think we have to be okay with it in ourselves. I'm gonna pass it on to Galen because I see he's scratching at this one because I know that's right up his alley. Go ahead there, Galen.
Yeah, and I really want to put kind of some parentheses around this idea of accumulating money, because a lot of times people see that as negative and they say, well, I'm not doing this for the money. I'm going to tell you, I'm doing this for the money because money is a resource for me to do what I really want to do. And that is my chief goal is freedom. I want to be able to do what I want to do, when I want to do it, how I want to do it. And I've got this story that I tell often about when my dad fell ill, and he lives in a small town, and in order for him to get the kind of health help that he needed immediately, they said, well, we gotta take him to this other town, and to drive him to this other town, and even in an ambulance, is going to take 90 minutes,
Wow.
maybe an hour, and but 90 minutes. Now we can airlift him, and he'll be there in 25 minutes. He'll be there in 20 minutes. But the airlift is not part of the insurance plan, right? You want an ambulance, that's part of your insurance, that's taken care of. It's going to take at least 90 minutes. But if we take him in a helicopter, 20 minutes, but that's not part of your insurance plan. Galen, that's going to cost you this amount of money that you're going to have to come out of your pocket to cover. Because I accumulated the money, I could say, do it, right? It gave me the freedom to say, go ahead and do that because that's important to me. As opposed to if I had just been doing all this for the nobleness of wanting to help people, but not accumulating money, I wouldn't have had the freedom to do what was really important to me, which is be there for my family, be there for my parents. So money is a tool, it's a resource. If you're accumulating money just for the goal of accumulating money, I'm going to tell you that that's a waste of time. Because no one has taken a bank vault to the grave with them. The Egyptians tried and they got robbed. So it's a resource to do the things that are really, really important to you.
And I just need to jump in here for a second because I want to know, why are you stepping all on my toes? I relate so much to you, Nick. Now, Galen, I had to get to that point later in this journey because I was philanthropic in my thinking when I read this book first time, 1979, but I was broke and broken. And I'm still on the journey, not where I was, nowhere near where I want to be. But listen to both of you. And for those of you that's listening to us, where are you in that journey? Where are you, in that process? Because Napoleon Hill tells us, and Nick is a business owner, so he's interested in that bottom line. And these principles are helping him to do that. So naturally, he can come from that perspective and say the service and giving because he's making money to give. And it may not be the money he's giving, but he's able to give his time, his talents, and his treasure now and then. And like Galen is saying, hey, all that's good, y'all. But when it came to having to, take care of my father, my hero, I had to do what I needed to do. So we really just want to encourage all of you. This is why you need organized plans. This is why you need a mastermind group of accountability. We want to thank those who have joined us also after we started. And if by any chance you are just a little late and wondering, what are you talking about? Who are you talking to? Just want to let you know that we're talking to Nick Lozano, and he is a businessman, but he's also a student of the Think and Grow Rich philosophy with the Napoleon Hill Institute. And he's in the process of getting his certification, but this man has invested 4 hours a day in this philosophy on his journey for mindset. You ready for this one, Dr. James? For mindset shift your mindset. Okay. All right. So I just want to make sure we do acknowledge those of you because we would not be here if it were not for you. Welcome, Erica, Imelda Wyman. Many of you were already on. We want to thank you. Put your questions in the chat. We're about to wrap up. I'm not sure where the time went, but we want to ask you again and again and again, please subscribe to the YouTube. Just go to Ann McNeil YouTube. And like Galen likes to say, click that notification bell. So we want to make sure we're here every single Saturday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern time as we walk through the book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Each month we cover a different principle. And by the end of the year, we're finishing the book and then we start over again. But before we go, I can take I'm going to give it to Dr. James. But we have an annual meeting. We're getting ready to land this plane. We're going to wrap up and everybody's going to give their aha moment and talk about how you can connect with them. But Dr. Peter James, if you don't mind talking about this annual meeting, and of course, I cannot say enough as he prepared to do that. This principle started out talking about the mastermind principle is required in order for you to vet your plans. We've not moved from the first couple of pages, literally, in this principle. There is so much more, the leadership part of this principle. You know, I think Dr. Peter talked about, selling your services. But when you think about the attributes of leadership and the survey that he talks about, which is what I want to get to, and I'll wait till you finish, Dr. Peter James, because at the very end of this principle, and for those of you that have your book, and I like to share, when we come on, bring your book with you, please. uh yes, this is not Bible study, but this is Think and Grow Rich philosophy study, and it's always good if you do have your book and you can follow along, if you will, in terms of what portion we're talking about. But if you go all the way to the end of the principle, the very end of this principle, the last few pages, where Napoleon Hill talks about, right after he talks about the failure, he talks about doing an assessment of your, I heard somebody say, I'm not sure who that was.
It
It's
was
almost as if you did the questions.
it was
It's
Nick.
almost, say it again.
It was me.
Yes, take inventory of yourself. Okay, and that to me is the tee up for how and why the International Mastermind Association starts off with a survey. I created a survey in the book. Yes, I'm still promoting the book because I'm working on me, how to start and run a successful mastermind group. But we start with a survey. But Dr. Peter James, if you want to pull up you know, the information about the annual meeting, talk about it, and then we're going to wrap up. Thank
Yes,
you.
I'm going to make this really quickly. I'm just going to ask a question for everyone who's listening and watching. Who is holding you accountable? Who is that individual? A lot of people are like, yeah, my significant other does. Yeah, but who else? Who else outside of that is holding you accountable to your next level? If you're not quite sure, if you need someone to help partner and push you, you might want to check out this annual accountability meeting on January 9th and 10th, 2026, where we'll come together and analyze multiple areas of our lives, not just our business, not just our career, not even just our personal, but we'll go into retirement planning. We'll go into your health, so many different areas that you'll let us know about, but then we'll say, hey, how can you do better? What does the next level need to look like? And when might you be able to accomplish that? If you don't do stuff like that regularly, I think there's a room for better next level in your life. Please check this out, International Mastermind Association.org, if I'm not mistaken there, and correct me if I'm wrong. Check us out, dive on in. We'll make sure we put the link in the chat. Good stuff.
Just want to mention that annual meeting is going to be held on January 9th and 10th, 2026 in Boca Raton at the Embassy Suites on Yamato Road. And like Peter is saying, uh, who's holding you accountable to go to the next level in your mastermind group? But who's holding your mastermind group accountable to go to the next level as a group? And do you have a mastermind group goal? Do you have a mastermind group goal? All right. So as we prepare to wrap up, if Peter, you want to come back and share with the listeners, how can they reach and connect with you? And then we'll go to Galen, and then we'll go to our special guest, Nick.
Yeah, and I'll start out by my aha was even that word that I mentioned earlier, which sometimes has a negative connotation there, Nick, is that fixation word is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. So how can we make sure that we put a positive spin on it more regularly? Hey folks, my name is Dr. Peter A. James. I am the high performance coach helping you to shift your mindset. You can find me at shiftyourmindset.com. You can also find me at LinkedIn, which are those two best places or you can find me here every Saturday morning diving on into Think and Grow Rich in order to open my eyes, maybe even look in the mirror more so that I can get to my next level and overcome challenges that we all face as well. This was great there. And Nick, thanks so much for being here. Who am I going to pass it over to? Let's go to Galen Bingham. Galen, what are your aha moments for today, sir?
Yeah, I mean, like you, I really like the word fixation. Are you fixated on this thing that you say that you want, or is it just a casual wish? We can all get distracted by the things that go past us, the things that could complicate it, the things that might be happening in social media. But if you're fixated, if you've got blinders on for this thing that you say that you want, the text and many other texts say that the universe will conspire to help you achieve that thing that you focus on all the time. Not necessarily the thing that you want, but the thing that you focus on all the time. So this has been a great reminder, great conversation. Nick, thank you so much for being part of this community. My name is Galen Bingham. I'm the leadership strategist. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. I'm really all over the place. But the most fun, the most productive way to find me is to find the podcast Whiskey, Jazz, and Leadership on all podcast platforms. We talk to leaders literally all over the world about the whiskeys they drink, the music they listen to, and what they believe it really takes to be an effective leader. Double dog dare you to try us at least once. Guarantee that we can help you take at least one step closer to accomplishing what you really want in life. So great conversation, Nick. Thank you so much for joining us.
All right, Nick, your aha from your podcast, your comments today, we want to thank you also. Make sure I say that again and again for joining us. You've been a phenomenal guest. And I'll give my comments at the end because I'm right there with Peter and Galen on the example you gave about the fixated mind. But go ahead, your comments about today. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Galen and Dr. Peter. So I would have to definitely the fixation in our mind is huge to me. But I believe that it's that when a person conditions their mind to think a certain way, I believe that that it is when a person has conditioned their mind to be able to control their emotions, and that's what I'm working on myself right now. But and creating a fixation in our mind of that what we want and that what we desire. So that's my takeaway. My name is Nick Lozano. You can find me on TikTok, Blueprint Consultant. That's my name on TikTok, Blueprint Consultant. I'm on Facebook as well and on YouTube. And I'd love to be able to if anyone if anyone is listening that they would like to connect one-on-one with me, definitely they can find me on social media. Or is there any way that we can put a good email address on here? Or
Yes.
yeah, so my email address would be on here.
So just put it in the chat, and I think Galen was sharing it. I think.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's in the YouTube chat.
Perfect.
Yes, we're here for you, Nick, and you've blessed us today. I'm still on that illness because it is so true. It's just like our coaching clients, and I know we're all in the coaching business and consulting business, but you cannot have a success outcome with a client whose mindset, come on, Dr. Peter James, has not shifted.
That's it. Yeah.
So shift your mindset first in the direction of your desire. That was my major takeaway from what you shared today. And I really want to again thank all of you that's listening in on the Zoom recording live. Thank you so very much. We appreciate you. And those who are listening in on YouTube, all of you, thank you so very much. Every single week, we're here sharing a principle. Angela, Marianne, Renee, again, thank you for joining us. My name is Ann McNeil, and if you are interested in starting and running a free mastermind group, you can text the number 59925 and in the chat, put the word "and," that's ANN, that's my name. And I also changed my name on this YouTube to say text Ann at 59925. I have made a commitment that I am going to have a minimum of 50 mastermind groups represented at our annual meeting in January. These groups can be current groups that already exist, or they can be groups that are starting free for family and friends on behalf of the International Mastermind Association. I'm also certified with the Napoleon Hill Foundation. I've been on this journey since 1979, and I am thoroughly convinced that when you have a desire, that having a mastermind group of accountability with organized plans can help you in the achievement of your desire. So until next time, we're going to ask all of you to remember to think and grow richer. We're going to also ask you, yes, Galen and Peter, I'm back and I'm working on promoting this book, How to Start and Run a Successful Mastermind Group. And in this book, we talk about that survey, those questions that we talked about a few minutes ago at the very end of this chapter, where Napoleon Hill gives us 25 self-inventory questions. And I took that idea and created a self-inventory survey myself that's in the book for your life, your spiritual, your family, your financial, your health, your education, your personal development, your business or your career, your recreation, your creativity, and your civic area of your life. Where are your written plans? We start with the survey, answer the questions on the survey. It's in the book. Yes, my name is Ann McNeil. Yes, it is. And I am excited to continue to encourage you to think and grow richer. And Nick, we're going to ask you to hold on. Everybody else, we're going to ask you to join us next week, same time, same place, for another special guest. And remember, connect with Galen, connect with Peter, and definitely connect with Nick if you're interested in taking your business or career through coaching to the next level. So until next time, remember to continue to think and grow richer. Thank you.